She didn't have one.
Are the slides gonna be up there?
That's
or-
right.
That is a BlackBerry and brown.
Is that why is it? Hello. You got a full house today. What's going on?
I don't know, they heard you.
Yeah, right.
Hey, you're Pico Rivera is first, right?
Yeah. It's a funny sticker, so we don't have enough.
Ah. Yeah, I had another one. I lost my bottle, so I needed a replacement. I couldn't find it, so I found that guy.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
Well, you-
The mobile, the Vietnam Memorial Wall, the mobile one is going to be Pico Rivera in May 2024. So.
Ready to start? All right, welcome, everybody. We're gonna get started. Thank you for being here. We're here for the November Veterans Advisory Commission meeting. Next slide, please. I'm gonna ask Commissioner Palmero to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right hand over your heart. And begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, next slide. Roll call, please, Stephanie.
Commissioner Crooks, Commissioner Palmero, Commissioner Jackson Kelly,
Present.
Commissioner McFadden,
Out of the country.
Commissioner Almond,
Here?
Chair Zato,
Here.
Vice Chair Noyola,
Present.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Present.
Commissioner Anderson.
Present.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next slide. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review the minutes. Stephanie sent them out. If there's no issues, I need a motion to accept.
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
All right, Commissioner Crooks moved and Commissioner Gutierrez seconded. Can we do a roll call for vote?
Commissioner Palmero, Commissioner Crooks, Commissioner Jackson Kelly,
Approved.
Commissioner Almond,
Approve?
Chair Zato,
Approve.
Vice Chair Noyola,
Approved.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Approved.
and Commissioner Anderson.
Approve.
Okay.
Thanks, Stephanie. Next slide. Not much for the chairman report. I will say, I know we still need to reschedule the training that's required for us. So Stephanie, Jim, let's figure out when we need to do that. I know whatever happened with the trainer, we'll just reschedule, another time to reschedule. everyone should be on county email. Commissioners, if you have any issues, please let us know. And do want to thank the director and MVA for a awesome event here at Bob Hope for Veterans Day. I know a lot of us are running around to different events, but it was an awesome event down here. Some great speakers. We missed out on the governor and the mayor, but we had the director here and couldn't have anyone else. Couldn't ask for anyone better to be here and work with. So thanks for all you and the staff's hard work on the Veterans Day event here. Next slide. So we have some public comments. I don't, are these people online? Do you know? Oh, Tom. Okay. All right, Mr. Bryant or Dr. Bryant. Is there a Dr. Bryant online? Man, my eyes are coming back. There's no one online? Okay. All right. So we don't see any of these people online. We'll check in after we have the people in person. But first, we'll have Mr. Shad come up and speak. Sir, are you available?
First of all, it's pretty nostalgic being here today. Been coming in this building for almost 52 years. Chairman, members of LA. First of all, I'd just like to say it's been an honor to participate, at least in the training of VPAN. It's just several years ago that Dr. Jonathan Sharin brought in Jim Zenner, combat vet, into my office, talking about the Vet Center program that I designed and implemented, the first 100 in America, and talking about such the large population that we have here in LA. When I came out here, there were 335,000 Vietnam era veterans in the county, twice the size of the city I was born in. So it was an incredible experience. But the thing is that we now have the VPAN program, and my wife and I do the peer-to-peer training for the VPAN teams. We've gotten very close to them. We've been doing trainings, I think, 3 years. The peer-to-peer and the ethics class that we're getting ready to do in a few weeks. Again, I think the importance here in this city, which has always been the importance, and particularly today with so many other organizations, nonprofits like mine, the National Veterans Foundation, and several others that are represented here, the fact that we're coming together. It's a different time, a different day. It was quite different in the 70s and 80s when I was on the mayor's committee and on the national committee trying to figure out how we can all come together, because there's so many pieces in readjustment and coming out of the war. Not one group, not one nonprofit, not even the VA, as we know, can really address all the needs of a veteran coming home and reintegrating. And that's what my life's been about, is reintegration. So I just want to make sure that we continue to bring everyone together to get to know each other, not segregate, because I fought segregation coming out of the South and fought it here and in the nation. There are so many different organizations that are played to be it. And I've been in 2 national programs I've started, and we're a part of it. We're not it. And I've just elated at this point in my career that there's a program like VPAN and programs that are associated with the NVF, and they'll probably come up here and speak, that are really all in this together. This is a war on the streets. You name it, from education to benefits to the homeless situation. We've got it all, and it takes all of us here to really address this. You know, I've been in this 52 plus years, and so many great things have changed and so many great things have not changed, and they're waiting to be changed. And I'm just elated about the leadership. I know some of the folks here I've met individually over the last year or two, some longer, and it's been incredible to know that we have this kind of leadership in this room. I do want to say that I'm probably here primarily because of Jim Zenner and the VPAN program. Even though I know Jim is now the director here at the military veterans thing, but it's really more than that. It's really us tying all of our knowledge and services together and helping that individual, no matter what war, what situation or whatever. We have too much knowledge, and it's just incredible how much we know, but we can't all do it. My foundation and several other representatives here, there's too many aspects of coming home and readjusting, and it's a long process. I mean, we still, on my hotline, get calls from Vietnam vets, occasionally Korean vets that are still trying to come home. So with that, I just want to encourage more of our gathering here and being a part of this operation here, because this is sort of the hub. It was the hub when I came out here in 71 and 72. And now with the new leadership, I'm just elated for this to really become a showcase for the whole country. I mean, we have the largest veteran population in the country here, and we have a lot of the biggest problems for veterans returning in this country. So I'm excited. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I'm still standing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Oppenheim.
I wasn't expecting this. I'll take my hat off.
Sir, you got 3 minutes.
Okay, well, last time I was here, I only took a minute and a half. So thanks. So my name's John Oppenheim. I was here talking to Metro last time, but this time I want to talk about VPAN and our hero over here on the right, Mr. Zenner. And I really I'm an advocate. I don't represent any particular organization, although I am volunteering here at Patriotic Call. I want to tell a little story about Jim and VPAN. I've been volunteering at Century Villages at Cabrillo, which has some 700 veterans down there. 2 years ago in May, there was a murder by one of the residents of his roommate. And most of the residents are seniors living in this supportive housing, and they were really, really shook up. Most of them have PTSD. A great many of them are Vietnam vets. And we were beside ourselves, and we needed some help. And I just met Jim, and I called him up and I said, would you consider coming down here and meeting with these very concerned veterans? And without hesitation, he said when and where. And so he came down there. We met with 30 veterans in a big circle. And on top of that, he brought 3 case managers from the Department of Mental Health. And I thought, man, that's commitment and that's leadership. Yesterday, I was in a meeting at Century Villages. Once again, I just keep pounding the Ray down there. So one of these days I'll win. And we had a meeting with VPAN and VA and the MVA to try and bring more services in there. And the reason that MVA was there is because Jim asked Joaquin to come down. We need a VSO on site. VPAN with their new leadership was listening and trying to figure out how to help. And so what I really want to talk about is the fact that leadership is talked about, but very rarely do you ever really see it. And we've got some leadership now, people that are willing to step up, listen, and do something about it. So that's my pitch, and that I hope that we can strengthen the peer-to-peer, veteran-to-veteran community. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Lastly, we have Mr. Mario Sobrian. Sorry if I misread your last name.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Director of Operations for National Veterans Foundation. And much like Shad said, we definitely try to collaborate and integrate our services with the whole VPAN. We definitely see a lot of need for services. And I think, as Shad mentioned, being together makes us stronger. I think we need to see more of that. One of the biggest things we do is we do have a homeless outreach program where we go out and find our veterans who are experiencing home insecurities. and we try to operate as much as possible to help them. And in addition, we will appreciate more support, more personnel to help with our mission to have every veteran have the services that they need. In addition to that, we also like partnering with our community partners who help our veterans, especially with the workforce, employment, and all kinds of different developments. So we are excited to be a part of Jim Zenner and the whole VPAN team here at the DMA. And we want to continue to see more support. And as community partners, we want to also be invited to support wherever we can. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Are we able to see if any of the people that signed up online or anybody? I can't even read. I can't. Can you want to read them off? I can't even. Oh, I can see this way. Dr. Bryant. Dr. Bryant, are you online? Prisco and Tennis. Are you online? Leland Washington. Leland Washington, are you online? Lee Moore Washington. Lee Moore Washington, are you online? Dr. Shiro, are you online? All right, I don't think any of these folks were able to join us today. Let's continue on to our briefings. Next slide, please.
Sorry to interrupt.
All right, our first
Hello?
briefing is from the Department of Economic. Oh, who's that?
Yeah, hi, I'm sorry. I missed the slide and I'm Keith Starr. Hi, everyone out there. I noticed that there was nobody that you called that wanted to talk. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Keith Starr. I'm with Tarzana Treatment Centers in the Los Angeles County area from San Fernando Valley, Long Beach, and Antelope Valley, and we provide substance use disorder and mental health services to veterans and active service members. I just wanted to thank you for sending out this meeting, and I appreciate that. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. Sorry about that.
No problem.
All right, now we're on to our first briefing. All right, we've got the director of the Department of Economic Opportunity here with us.
Thank you. My name is Kelly Lobianco, and I'm the director of the LA County Department of Economic Opportunity. All right. I hope that this turns out okay, because I see already that the slide's a little off, but it's all good. We are the Economic and Workforce Development Department of LA County. We're pretty new, one of the newest departments here. We are a year and 4 months old. The Board of Supervisors created our department in the middle of the pandemic with an eye towards a more equitable recovery and inclusive and sustainable growth in the region. Prior to the development of DEO, economic and workforce development activities were dispersed across a number of different agencies. Actually, you can probably find workforce and economic development activities in all 38 departments in LA County, and that still exists to a certain extent, because all of our goal is to serve workers and businesses. That's our customer base. And we know that many of our other departments touch these same customers. What our goal is to centralize economic and workforce development to the best we can, whether it's policy, programs and services, and resources, and make sure that we are a friendly point of entry for workers and businesses in LA County, and that includes our veteran community. And we're just getting started. So what I'm here to present on today is a little bit about our department, what we're doing today to serve our veteran community, our veteran workers and job seekers, and our veteran business owners, as well as a little bit of an eye towards the future in ways that we can partner with this commission and with our Military and Veterans Affairs department. All right, so I'll get going. All right, so as you can see here, who is DEO? I just told you a little bit about how we came to be, but I do like to share our vision. When you think about an economic and workforce development department, sometimes folks think of just sort of unbridled growth in a region, and that's not really what we're all about. We were created, thanks to our Board of Supervisors, to think about what inclusive and sustainable growth could really mean in the region. So we're striving for a more equitable economy with thriving local communities, inclusive and sustainable growth, and opportunity and mobility for all. So we're a department that, while we're working with every sort of worker and business in LA County, that includes our 10 million residents, our 5 million workers, our 1 million small businesses, and globally competitive major industries. We are directing our resources to those that need it most. And we're making sure that we're focusing our resources on pathways for our local communities to thrive. And so we do this through a whole host of ways. We oversee the LA County Workforce Development Board in 18 American Job Centers of California. Our workforce team leverages local, state, federal philanthropic dollars, really doing the whole gamut of outreach and engagement to folks that are looking for a new and better job, job readiness, job training, all of this no cost. We provide business services and incentives to employers, and then we do that direct connect to hire and advancement. We see our system as dual customer. We both serve the worker and the business. And we're very proud to have a Veterans American Job Center of California right here in this very building since 2017. We also support small businesses. We oversee the Office of Small Business for the county. We have a physical location in Centro Maravilla in East LA at the East LA Entrepreneur Center. There we support small businesses with anything that they need to start, grow, and thrive. Talk about that a little bit more. We also support communities. So while we support small businesses, major industries, and workers across all 4,000 square miles of LA County, we also know that we are a large county full of cities, neighborhoods, and villages and that all have their unique culture and needs. And so we also are thinking about inclusive community development. We focus on neighborhoods and commercial corridors. So thinking about not just how one business can thrive, but how that they can thrive together, and we can drive commerce and culture setting. We also leverage county assets. So where we have underutilized county land and properties, our department's thinking about how you turn that into a hub of innovation. And so we're excited to support pre-development and development on mixed use spaces to help contribute to affordable housing, as well as tenant space for small businesses, community space for innovation, places for our major industries to be attracted to the region and thrive. So you'll see us working on projects like the Old General Hospital. We are about to announce a developer for that project, the West LA Courthouse, and other projects like that. So I really see, I said our customers are workers and businesses, but it's also our communities. All right, next slide, please. Thank you. So as I said, we are always here to direct our services to those that need it most. And we are really proud to provide dedicated veteran programs and services. I would say as a new department, we are sitting on the shoulders of our previous departments that had stood up teams and portfolios and programs and services that supported the veteran community with the advocacy of this group and others. And we're looking to supercharge that in our new department. So just where we are today, veterans receive priority of service for all of our programs and services. That's mandated by federal law, but we extend that to our full gamut of programs and services. I mentioned our dedicated American Job Centers of California. That's right here, where we do targeted outreach and we do customized training programming. We also oversee the certification programs for LA County and are supporting county contracting opportunities, actually local, state, and federal county contracting opportunities. And we're proud as of last March this March, actually, March 2023, to have formalized utilization goals for LA County. So disabled veteran business enterprises, there's goals for 3% of our contracts to go to those certified entities. And so making sure that we're supporting our fellow departments and meeting those goals, as well as outreach to get more veteran businesses either certified as the DVBE or any of our preference programs. Next slide, please. So some of the business services that we offer for veterans, I mentioned a little bit of our dedicated services, but like I said, we have services that are wide ranging and where veterans have priority. Through our American Job Centers of California and our public workforce system, we offer training incentives and hiring incentives to businesses, whether it's wage subsidies for on-the-job training and transitional work to make it a little easier to hire folks. We know that that's a real challenge right now across the business community. We offer incumbent worker training, so paying wages and training for employers to upskill and promote their internal candidates. We offer targeted recruitment services. We like to see ourselves as an HR arm to private businesses, public sector as well, including ourselves in the county. We want to get more veterans hired right here in our positions. And we do dedicated training with employers and adult schools and community colleges. I mentioned our certification programs. There's $6 to $8 billion in purchasing power in the county every single year. That doesn't mention, the 4 to 6 billion at the city and the state and the federal opportunities. And so we want more folks to get certified. There's great preference benefits from that. Folks get on particular lists. They get prompt payment. They get a 15% bid reduction. And you can already see we're getting started with hundreds of thousands of dollars going to disabled veteran business enterprises, but we want to get that number up. We also offer a concierge for entrepreneurs and small businesses, so folks can get technical assistance, access to capital and property, mentorship, and all that good stuff through our Office of Small Business. Next slide, please. I talked a little bit about the workforce system. Here, I wanted to just touch on a couple of numbers. So we serve veterans county-wide through all of our programs and services and facilities. Although we do dedicate and drive folks here to Bob Hope Patriotic Hall for our Veterans AJCC. But we're serving over 3,500 veterans every year and providing them workforce service, supportive services, and trying to meet their needs as they connect to new and better jobs. 70% of all of our workforce services happen right here in the building. So you can see our training numbers are in the hundreds, our placements are in the thousands, and I think we can do more. So, I would love to work with this commission to think about ways that we can increase our outreach, increase our co-investments through grants and other opportunities, build more customized programming, and get more people to work. You can see a little bit around the occupations and industries that folks are landing. But I'm excited about some of the opportunities we've already had in conversation with the director on what we can do. Next slide, please. These are just two quick collaborations to sort of shine a light on the kinds of things we can do and do now. So we've worked with Microsoft for a couple of years around an LA Veterans Technology Training Academy. This is where we're training folks for various IT credentials and positions. We're putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into that. Those produce really good annual wages, and they have very high success rates in graduation. That's what we always find when you have an employer at the table. When they validate the curriculum and they validate the credentials, we know we're producing folks with the kinds of skills and experience and value set that these employers are looking to hire. So we hope to build on this. We've got actually a partnership with Microsoft right now to increase digital skills and digital support for our small business community too. And I think there's an intersection here with the commission. Next slide, please. We also work a lot in aerospace and defense. One example of a program that has with a specific focus on our veteran community is the Northrop Grumman Military University. So we're working to get folks into aircraft fabrication and assembly program certifications. We're working with them now on apprenticeship pathways too. That also extends to Lockheed and others in the AV. But we've had 3 cohorts graduate already. We're putting investment in. We're partnering with our AJCCs and other community-based organizations and Antelope Valley College and all of those folks up in the region. And again, I think this is a good example of where we have good success rates in completion and hiring, but we need to increase the volume because the hiring need is there. Next slide, please. All right, a couple of things about what's next. Before I dive into this, I do just want to say the department has a lot of opportunities that may not be dedicated directly to veterans, but do prioritize them. And at the very last slide, we'll have a bunch of contact information so folks can plug in, get on our newsletter, see our socials, check out our website. We'll continue to push information out, but we are rolling out $157 million in American Rescue Plan programs across 15 programs. And we have a lot of exciting programs that are about to launch November, December of this year and early next for our small business community, including an employee ownership program that supports shared ownership and succession planning for our smallest businesses. We provide that technical assistance and actually help them convert to that financial model. We're going to be launching a commercial acquisition fund to help folks acquire vacant property in LA County for their small businesses, and a bunch of other technical assistance and capital programs coming. We're going to be launching, I sort of seeded it with the note on Lockheed, a high road training partnership and an apprenticeship pathway with Lockheed Martin in the new year too. So a lot of cool things coming. We hope to engage with you on recruitment and outreach for those. And then specifically around sort of veterans, we've been having conversations about how to bolster our partnership between our Vets AJCC and West LA and with MVA. We're really excited about those initial conversations and what comes from that. We oversee with our Department of Human Resources a program called the PLACE program, but more broadly, what we're calling county pipeline programs. How do we put our resources together to make sure that we're offering our local communities the kinds of training and support and sort of leg up in getting into the civil service here in LA County across departments and jobs. And so making sure that we're opening that up to our veteran community. We are about to announce the new field of American Job Centers of California vendors. We have an open procurement, it's about to close, which includes the Veteran AJCC. But what we're doing as part of this procurement is creating centers of excellence focused on high growth sectors and priority populations for each of our various centers. And so there's going to be a lot of opportunities to build on the best practices of the Veterans American Job Center, as well as bolster resources and staffing inside the center. So we're really excited about that, but also do some really deep employer engagement in sectors like the creative economy, around infrastructure, around aerospace and defense. In terms of what's coming, in terms of opportunities for small businesses, I seeded a few, but we're also preparing for major external investments in LA County, like LA 28. We're working with our partners at LA City and Infrastructure LA to get as many folks certified, veteran-owned businesses and beyond, certified as possible so that they can benefit from those investments that are happening right here. And we also know that there's a lot of dollars coming in with the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act. We want to make sure that our workers and our businesses, that includes our veteran community, are getting access to those opportunities as billions of dollars come into the region to build bridges, digital infrastructure, social healthcare, all of that good stuff. So lots of things coming out of the department. I just wanted to sort of present where we're at and seed some ideas for you all. Anthony, I know we've talked. I think there's opportunities for us to dream something up together, and I really appreciate this opportunity to share a little bit. The next slide, and we'll share all this out, has our where to link up and follow us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
I have a question, Chairman Zito, if that is in order.
Right, Dennis.
Yeah, is Commissioner Anderson. Yeah. Ms. Lobianco, we have two categories of veterans, two large categories of veterans in need generally, and there are those who have their honorable discharges, so they're eligible for everything. And then we have another large sorting category, veterans with other than honorable discharges. Some of those were meted out by the military in error. Some will be corrected and others will not. But the departments of mental health and of housing services have programs for OTA other than honorable discharge veteran eligibility. Does Department of Economic Opportunity have a distinction, or are you aware of this?
Yeah, thank you very much. So we do have, some of our public workforce system is funded by federal U.S. Department of Labor dollars. There are some restrictions there, but that's not the majority of the funding that we have. Our funding for our department across business and workers programming is a combination of local, state, federal, philanthropic dollars. So there's always ways that we can provide universal support to any veteran that needs services.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much for your presentation. I just have a couple of questions. Your department, where does it receive its revenues in terms of grants that are specifically allocated to the veterans?
Yeah, so we, our Department of Labor Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funding does have mandates for priority of service for veterans. So while not a specific line item for veterans, all of those dollars, whether it's for outreach, job readiness, job training, job placement activities, is prioritized for our veteran community. I think some of the other programs that I mentioned here, I believe that they're a combination of local dollars, some through, I think they're a combination of local and philanthropic dollars, I believe, but I can certainly follow up with the commission on those specifics.
Thank you for that. You mentioned how you're looking to centralize certain types of services in your department. How do you partner or share either the resources or communicate across the departments within the county that have some component of services that they provide the veterans? You know, I'm kind of looking at, I think we might have some other partners in here, and I think it's called case management. And it's like, how do we do that?
It's a great question. And
Thank you.
Yeah. We got it all figured out. Just kidding. No, we're working on it. I think that's one of the goals of our department. We're new, so I would be lying if I said that the first year wasn't about getting organized, building our infrastructure, getting our recovery dollars out the door, and setting our mission and vision. That was a large part of like just the standing up of a new county department. But one of our charges is to make sure that we really understand the landscape. So what are the economic and workforce development policies, programs, services, activities that are happening within the realm of our county family? So that's sort of happening as we go. And we hope to sort of continue to formalize individual partnerships with each department and figure out where we want to align, collaborate, integrate, innovate on what's already happening. And that includes for our veteran services as well. So, I think being here at Bob Hope Patriotic Hall has a lot of natural synergies for us with our Vets AJCC, and making sure that if you're coming in for a job, you get the breadth of support from other departments and VSOs that are here. But I think it's going to be a little bit of an ongoing journey. And I think if there's areas where this commission would like us to start and focus, we're happy to collaborate.
One last follow-up question, and I'm sure it's probably going to be asked again here shortly. The resources that you have in your department, specifically as it relates to tracking the customers that you are supporting, is that information software that you use for tracking, is that available and open for other departments to also be able to see?
So since we aligned 4 different departments into one department, again, I'd be lying if that didn't come with 4+ different systems that we're now in the process of procuring a centralized CRM. That said, we do have access to each of those systems. So it's not a beautiful process right now, but if folks want to know how many vets we're serving and we want to cut the data about like where people are, do some analysis together, we do have that ability. It will be better in the future. And one sort of like inkling of hope I want to leave you with, though, is the county established an economic development scorecard. It was a document that was formally produced by the CEO and cataloged. It was a gathering of economic development activity across departments. So what it was mostly like the counts, like what are the outputs, like what are some of the investments that we've made in economic and workforce development, and what are the outputs from that. We are in the process of taking that to the next level, really understanding what does the global economic and workforce development need look like in LA County? What are the investments that we're making in our department and across fellow departments? What are the goals that we're setting to move the needle towards the global need? And how are we doing with our priority populations and our high growth sectors? So as we develop that out, we'd love to bring some of those ideas back to the commission, as well as with our county departments and other stakeholders to identify, like, what do you want to see? Like, if we're going to be creating this sort of report at first and hopefully sort of a online and navigatable data system, like what would you like to see to help understand what kind of economic and workforce development impacts we're having in the veteran community with the dollars across LA County? So that's to come. Stay tuned.
Commissioner Crooks.
Thank you. I know you were talking about certifying all these veterans, small businesses, veterans. Does this help? Are you helping them to qualify so that they can actually bid on county contracts?
Yes.
And have you gone and delved into that with departments and saying, okay, when you set up to take the RFPs, you need to make sure that these people get a little extra credit because they've gone through and we know what they will do.
Yeah. So yes, and so what our department does is we do outreach to folks that might qualify. We provide technical assistance to them to be certified, both with the county, but also with other entities. And then we work with them as they need on specific bids. So if they've got a bid and they're interested, we help them organize their materials and hope that they're successful. So we run the Office of Small Business, oversee the county certifications. We also oversee the Federal Department of Defense's Procurement Technical Assistance Center. It's now called APEX, but that lives within our department. So we're also providing that technical assistance for federal contracts. I would say it's still not a perfect system, right? So we do the support we can on the individual level for the business. And then we help them navigate all the red tape that exists today. And we work with our fellow departments. We work with ISD. We do training across procurement teams. But we also are a part of the Equity and County Contracting Initiative of the county. So the Small Business Commission sits within the Department of Economic Opportunity, and this is a big focal point of theirs, which is how do we push the needle? And so in the coming year, our department will be launching a cash advance pilot for small businesses and nonprofits. We know that, like, it's hard, even if you are qualified to bid, it's hard to get that first contract or even other awards because of the money you have to put down in the reimbursement schedule. So thinking about how we can support that. A lot of other initiatives like that to help folks understand the preference programs and the benefits that you can receive. But I think one of the biggest pushes that we're going to do in our second year of the department is really up the certification numbers. We only have about 2,000 certified businesses in our department right now, and that's local small business enterprises, that's disabled veteran business enterprises, our community-based enterprises. Not even a fraction of the businesses that we could be buying their goods and services. So I think for me, the first things first is like education, letting people know that this exists and there's great benefits and there's technical support to help them. So you'll be seeing come new year, some campaigns that we're going to be running with partners around getting folks signed up.
Commissioner Allman.
Director, it's good to see you. And again, I really appreciate your willingness and enthusiasm to serve veterans with the AJCC expansion. I know we've talked about that a few different times, and hopefully VA comes around and does the right thing. You know, I know that the county, I think, has reached out in partnership, and I think we're waiting to hear back with regard to VA on that issue. You mentioned just the broader mission of inclusion for the communities throughout the county of Los Angeles. And I'm curious, do you work at all with lending institutions, for example, the community redevelopment dollars and sort of helping guide the strategy for where that money should go in the county? Or is that something that sort of LACTA's traditional role in the county?
Yeah, so we do, we're sort of at the early stages that we do work closely with LACTA. A lot of our community development dollars right now in the department are focused on smaller scale, like the actual commercial corridor business improvement development that I described, like our Renovate facade improvement program. But there's a lot more potential. And so that's what we're exploring right now too. How do we direct that beyond, fixing up the lights and the ADA compliance on the front of the building to actual placemaking. And there's even workforce development opportunities through those dollars.
Well, I'm glad you used the term placemaking, because I think, specifically with what I do and for the veteran community in Los Angeles, there's been so much emphasis on building 1,200 plus permanent supportive housing units at VA West LA. But I think if we are merely to do that, it would be insufficient. I think we need to be looking down the road, looking at the horizon, saying, okay, once we have 1,200 veterans housed here, what are they going to need to live their life? And I think one aspect of that is employment, but there is going to be infrastructure costs associated with that, independent of housing. And if we could work with perhaps the county and the private lending institutions to create that placemaking, because VA West LA is a weird place, right? It's federal land, but it's unincorporated county. It's just this. That's been the biggest challenge with this project is it's got a lot of entities involved. So that's one thing I just wanted to say, just in thinking about areas within the county that could be a spotlight of this placemaking goal. VA West LA is an exceptional place.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Look forward to talking more.
Commissioner Palmero?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciated your presentation. I love numbers because the numbers don't lie, as opposed to opinions. But I did also work for a short period of time in career placement. I've also worked as a case manager. And I really want to make sure that it's been mentioned, but I want to bring home the idea that nobody becomes homeless overnight. Nobody becomes unemployed overnight. So just as important as it is to go out and try to find these partnerships with businesses, it is also very important to become knowledgeable and to develop those relationships with social services in the area, because you don't want to set someone up to fail. And if their mental state is not okay, if their emotional state is not okay, if they don't have food to eat, right? But let's get a job. But what are they going to do the 2 weeks prior to that? Those relationships are going to be imperative to the success of a veteran. And so being one of those veterans that didn't know that I was having trouble or where to reach out to, that it is so important for me to make sure that you take that back and take that information back and put that focus on those supportive services and those relationships as much as the big contracts, right? The other thing is that we are seeing a lot of individuals who are not able to get into colleges because their math and English skills are not strong enough, or not able to get into the military because their scores are so low. So obviously there's a lot of issues with math and English, and some of the programs that I would work with, a lot of the individuals could not get into these programs because of weak math and English skills. And you don't want to set someone up to fail. You don't want them to apply and redo their resume and go into these programs and take these tests and not be able to pass the math and English portion. What preventive services, if any, or what evaluation services are you performing or giving out in order to ensure that an individual is prepared to take those tests?
Thank you. Those are both two really important points. I appreciate that. On the first one around homelessness, I'm really glad you brought that up, and I neglected to talk a little bit about that in my presentation, but I think the intersection here is important. We are investing more and more on our programming, one that targets and enrolls individuals with lived experience with homelessness. as well as targets employment in the homeless services sector and the social services sector. So we have a couple of different programs with those sort of angles because we want to make sure that we're building a more empathetic workforce. We want to make sure that folks are getting good jobs in supportive institutions, but also that we're helping folks navigate the housing crisis and their own stable housing in these nonprofits. So we have strong partnerships with LAHSA, and we're trying to build out some of those employment programs with them. We also run our LA Rise program, which is transitional work with social enterprises that focuses on this population that has co-case management, wages during training and paid work experience and a very supportive environment. And we also have a program called Careers for a Cause that's training folks for positions in the social services and homeless services sector. So I think right now, one of my biggest pet peeves is running a bunch of programs and services and not running a strategy. And so what we have is a lot of really great programs and services with a theory of change, but I think over time, you're going to see us thinking about how to better support individuals with that who are experiencing homelessness or have experienced homelessness or have housing instability, and also what is sort of the array of opportunities within the social service and homeless services sector as a place to work, and what can we do as an agency that's also focused on economic development to uplift the wages in those industries, because we know people aren't getting paid enough, and that causes housing instability in the end. To your point around essentially like bridge programming and support for folks for their education, we do that through our American Job Centers of California in partnership with our community colleges and adult schools. We also partner with high schools as part of with our Youth at Work program. But I think it's a very valid point, and we need to do more of that. I think when you run a unique job training program, it runs the gamut of everything you need to get that job at the end. But how can we build services within our American Job Centers of California that help folks more broadly where those are issues for them? So I look forward to having future conversations to make sure that those are really embedded, because it's important.
Okay, and one more thing. I cannot speak about jobs and unemployment without bringing up the gender gap, right? Financially. What, if any, and that probably could wait just a little bit longer, but what, if any, plans or ideas have come up surrounding having to close up that gender gap, being able to train women to be in predominantly male-dominated fields, because obviously those always make up more money. So what, if any, efforts have been put into that direction?
Yeah, great question. I think first things first, we're working with the CEO's Women and Girls Initiative to make sure we're collecting data in an appropriate way across all our programs. Like, we have to know the baseline to even improve in our own programs and services. So we're working on that. But certainly we're focused on all of the high growth sectors of LA County. Some of them do have, many of them have diversity challenges in being a representative workforce for LA County, and gender is significant in some of them when I'm looking at tech or looking at construction. And so we do have partnerships in some of those with like specific recruitment goals for women in the trades. We work with organizations like Winter to get folks into a variety of the building trades. So those have been good starts. I think an exciting thing about our American Rescue Plan programming is all of those programs are targeted at historically disinvested communities, and we set goals around that for targeted outreach and enrollment. And so we're really hopeful to pay that forward into our future programming, not just with our recovery funds, because we want to make sure that our programs start to reflect LA County's workforce, and that eventually our workforce is reflective of our residents.
Great, thank you so much. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. I have 8 million questions for you. This is a near and dear subject to me, but I will keep it to one because I'll follow up with you. You talked about all the certifications, and anyone that has a business here in Los Angeles, California, anywhere, knows that it's a confusing mess of, well, I'm certified with the port, but I'm not certified with the airport, but then I'm certified with. And so if you could just go, just briefly kind of talk about if there are any plans or what you all are looking at to try to simplify this process. I understand why it's burdensome, and I understand why they have to do it every 2 years, but I'm pretty sure I'm still a veteran after 2 years, but just if you can talk to some of the actual pain points of certification, just real quick.
Yeah, there are a lot of pain points to certification, which is why I think our numbers are so low, to your point. I think one is like understanding the vast potential of award opportunities in LA County and across other entities. Folks buy everything. I walk into a lot of rooms with small businesses and I always ask who's certified and I always see very few hands go up. And people think that we don't buy what they sell, and that's just not true. We buy everything, services, goods. I think there's a bit of an education there. Technical assistance, we don't have enough of it. We work with One LA and the chambers to help folks, and our Office of Small Business does this as well. We right now don't have the capacity building infrastructure for the volume of folks, but that's what we want to invest in, because I think having that person walk you through getting all of your documents together for a single cert is important, but also making sure that those capacity building programs are letting you leave with your metro, your county, your city, your ports, whoever, every sort of cert that you need. That's a pain point. I think the cash assistance is the cash advances are a pain point for folks that we're trying to invest. That's what we've heard time and again. That folks want grants or revolving loan funds for them to access so that they can get their startup capital so that they can actually bid and succeed. Good points of contact in each department. I will say the thing that we're excited about is all of these as part of, as we receive recovery funds, as we receive infrastructure funds to the region, the Department of Public Works has organized Infrastructure LA, which brings together the city, the county, metro, LAWA, sanitation districts, everybody. And we've been thinking about what does supplier diversity mean if all these dollars come in. And so we are around the table around reciprocity, around certification. That's a long road, but the conversation's happening, and I think that's a positive first step, because that is a huge problem.
Thanks again for being here, Director. I know we'll have a lot more questions for you in the future, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, to the commission.
All right, next slide. And we have Department of Mental Health. Thank you so much for your patience, and we're excited to have you here for your presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon. How's everyone this afternoon? Good. Hi, I'm Dr. Rhonda Higgins. I am the new director of VPAN. So following Jim's lead here. So thank you so much for having me. So I am just wanted to say thank you, introduce myself to you, and just say it is an honor to be here and to work here alongside an amazing team with LA County Department of Mental Health, just providing an array of supports and services to our veterans. And with that, I'd like to invite Dr. Lisa Wong, the Director of Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, and she's also going to describe the array of services that support VPAN.
Good afternoon, commissioners. It's such an honor to be here with all of you today to talk a little bit about what we do at DMH with our Veteran Peer Access Network. I can start just a little bit by talking about our Department of Mental Health. Our vision is to help those who suffer from serious mental illness heal, grow, and flourish by providing access to the right services in the right place from the right people. Our mission is to optimize the hope, recovery, and well-being of our most vulnerable through access to care and resources that promote independence, personal recovery, connectedness, and community reintegration. And our values are integrity, respect, accountability, collaboration, dedication, transparency, quality, and education. Excellence and education. Okay, next slide, please. So just a little overview about the department. We are actually the largest public mental health department in the country, believe it or not. We serve people with serious and persistent mental illness resulting in severe functional impairment. And on average, we serve approximately 250,000 unique clients a year. We have directly operated programs in over 180 sites. And we also serve through our legal entity contracts as well as our private pay fee-for-service network. The county contracts with close to 1,000 organizations total and individual practitioners to provide a variety of mental health services. And approximately, unfortunately, 1 in 5, about 20% of our people served by DMH are homeless. Next slide. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself too. I have only been in the department for 35 years. I just celebrated my 35th year anniversary on November 4th, but it feels like yesterday. I've been in the position of director as acting director since July last year, and then permanently installed at the end of February this year. And I actually started my career in the Department of Mental Health in Skid Row. I spent over 23 years in the Skid Row area of Los Angeles. And that's where I got to see firsthand what happens when our system fails our veterans. You know, if you count back 35 years, you know, I started like in the late 80s, early 90s. And as a previous speaker had mentioned, back in those days, there wasn't a lot that went on that was dedicated to veterans. It was basically like the VA or nothing. You know, you couldn't even come to the Department of Mental Health if you were service connected. It wasn't allowed. And, you know, being the daughter of an Army veteran myself, I knew the significant impact, both positive and negative, that service could have on people. And I knew how much help was needed, but how often people would not want to look at that, who would not want to address needing that kind of help. In fact, I have a really good friend of mine, John, who enlisted when he was like barely legal to enlist, barely 18. He's an Iowa farm boy. He did 3 tours of duty as a sniper in Vietnam, came back, opened up a dive business, did a bunch of other stuff, super chill guy, very, very competent, like the kind of person you want with you in any kind of emergency situation. And, you know, John was like always one of the strongest people I knew until one day, his wife was watching a documentary about the Vietnam War on TV. John happened to be walking through the living room and he collapsed. Somebody who did really well for decades after his military service, just seeing that stimuli of, you know, this documentary, he wasn't able to speak or work for about 2 weeks. And his wife is a mental health professional, me as their good friend, I'm a mental health professional, could not get him into the VA, you know, didn't want to go, didn't want to talk to anybody until I contacted somebody who was a peer and who had served, and not even in the Vietnam War. This is somebody from the Korean War. And he was the only one who was able to get through to John and connect him with the clinical services that he needed. And I think this is what drives home, you know, what is so important about us being able to offer services to our veterans. And it really should be no wrong door, whether it's the VA, a community-based organization, the MVA, DMH. You know, this is a case of really the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Each one of us can do something, but when we all come together, we can do something so much greater to actually move the needle for our veterans. So what exactly is the Veteran Peer Access Network? Well, it's a network of veteran and military connected and veteran family peers across systems who work as access agents to ensure connection to resources and support in their community. They're the ones who can make a connection with that veteran and get them to the help that they need. It's a public-private partnership with Southern California grant makers. And there's a technology platform called Unite Us that's used to manage the database of various resources that's available to folks. There's also a support line staffed by veterans and military families 7 days a week, including holidays. And there's a virtual online learning community through the UCLA Veteran Family Wellness Center. And it's the backbone support for the Los Angeles Veteran Collaborative as well. And I think what's really important here is that that VPAN truly leverages peer support as the centerpiece of the program. You know, you can have all the services you want, but if you don't have a way to connect people in a way that's acceptable to them and in a way that they can relate to, then those services are really meaningless. Okay, next slide, please. So who does VPAN serve? Well, VPAN serves all veterans and military family members of every age countywide. There's no specific criteria for time in service, service area, discharge status, any of that. We really try to make that clear to folks that, you know, we don't require a piece of paper to, you know, prove that you're service connected or anything. And all veterans can receive VPAN services regardless of their disability rating as well. There's no specific or exclusionary criteria for level of need or care, like income. And really the main point of all of this is that, you know, we had multiple stakeholder engagements and advisement from our steering committee advisory group. And what that did was it led us to a very relaxed eligibility criteria and then no exclusion criteria to receive services from VPAN. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so what does VPAN offer? Well, we really created a no barrier, non-traditional mental health treatment access point for veteran and military families using a peer-to-peer model. We link veterans to mental health treatment and substance use treatment, including intensive field-based operations and services, regardless of VA healthcare eligibility. There are plenty of vets that I met on Skid Row who were actually service connected, but wanted nothing to do with the VA, but we knew that we could not turn our backs on those people. We provide VPAN clinician for co-response with the LA County Sheriff's Veteran Mental Evaluation Team, the MET team, and clinical case management and linkages to services like other services that people need as human beings, like housing and employment. And we also have linkage to benefits like the VA Veterans Administration, Social Security, disability, and different kinds of benefits like that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so VPAN staff are intentionally trained to provide clinically and culturally competent services to address the unique needs of veterans and military families. The DMH VPAN managers meet regularly with DMH training coordinator and SCG, Southern California grant makers, to develop training curriculum for all the VPAN staff. There you can see a list of some of the required trainings like suicide prevention, substance use recognition and screening, peer navigation, a lot of different things. And we're starting to do more specialized trainings too, like around military sexual trauma, motivational interviewing, and other areas. Okay, next slide. Okay, our goals. Well, number one, we want a clear roadmap and no wrong door. And that means access and assistance. So access, there's phone and chat, there's online platforms, there's peers. And then for assistance, it's navigation and follow-up. Then secondly, we really want to increase awareness, both in the community. So community members, family members, they know where to direct vets and military families who need help. Then also we have the You Matter campaign, and that has been a big part of the efforts. Then we want to increase veterans' connection to mental health treatment, decrease veteran suicide, decrease veteran homelessness, and decrease veteran under and unemployment. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's just a little bit of a geographic breakdown of where the teams are. And you'll notice that it's really by supervisorial district. Typically in the Department of Mental Health and a lot of county services, we go by service areas, which are 8 different service areas. But we did this to align our data so that we can have the feedback for the supervisorial districts so that they can give us the support that's needed for the specific kinds of services in their communities. The vast majority of individuals, they don't know the supervisorial district boundaries, and some might question why, but we think it was the best way to be able to gather resources into a cohesive whole to serve the veterans the best. So you see there are 5 supervisorial districts and the various community-based organizations that help us carry out VPAN. The CBO teams are aligned within all 5 districts, 3 DMH peer service integrators in each of the districts, and then LA County Department of Military and Veterans Affairs assigns accredited veteran service representatives as benefit navigators in each of these service districts. And we have a team of 8 peers from community-based organizations per service supervisorial district to provide the bulk of the peer services. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, next I'm going to talk a little bit about the VPAN community suicide prevention. VPAN's veteran community suicide prevention efforts began really about 3 years ago. And at that time, a 2018 VA report had outlined that 20 veterans a day were dying by suicide. Of those, 70% were not connected to the VA. And what this highlighted most was that most veterans dying by suicide were either not engaged in the VA system or not eligible for VA care. Only 30% of veterans who died by suicide were getting VA care. And this means that community involvement and community strategies were really imperative. The majority of these veterans are in the community and maybe not in the VA. Given this, LA County DMH employed several strategies to integrate veteran community suicide prevention tactics. Number 1, LA County DMH VPAN launched a joint effort with the West LA VA Center to better be able to identify and track veterans of high risk for suicide. VPAN houses a community suicide prevention coordinator that plays a major role in partnering with the VA, collaborating and sharing information about mutual veteran clients. VPAN's also receiving referrals from the VA for veterans that otherwise would not be eligible for VA services. Number 2, DMH VPAN continues to make itself accessible and known to veterans in the community to increase self-referral. They've also built relationships with local law enforcement to facilitate referrals and continues to inform other DMH staff about VPAN specific services for veteran referrals. A lot of our veterans come in through our other programs, like our homeless programs, our outpatient services, and we find that there's not often successful engagement or early dropout because of a lack of a feeling of belongingness for the veterans. So VPAN has recognized the unique opportunity it has to serve veteran clients predominantly in the community that are typically not engaged in traditional mental health treatment. It's implementing a veteran suicide prevention peer-based model to facilitate linkage and support to veterans in the community and to bring veterans into the DMH system or help connect them to different mental health providers. VPAN has employed a psychologist, Dr. Natalie Betlachian, who I hear is amazing, to help develop the skills and competence of VPAN peers to aid in the mission of decreasing veteran suicides. VPAN peers are helping contribute to veteran suicide prevention efforts in several ways. They're helping to bolster protective factors, promoting mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual wellness of veterans. And VPAN peers are also providing culturally sensitive support and helping veterans challenge stigma associated with mental health care, as well as collaborating with other DMH providers and outside agencies to link veterans to needed services. And to see if VPAN's wide range of peer services to community veterans resulted in contact with more acute suicide risk veterans in the community, there was a quick snapshot of current identification that was gathered. And we saw that as of February 2023, acute risk veterans accounted for about 7.5% of the VPAN clients. And when you compare this to like other outpatient and other kinds of programs, it was significantly higher. Downtown Mental Health Center, which is located in Skid Row and typically sees a number of veterans, they only had about 1%. And then Edelman Mental Health Clinic on the west side had 2.5%. And this is consistent with what the research tells us, that acute risk veterans are not typically engaged in mental health treatment services and are far more likely to be identified, tracked, engaged, and supported using different modalities of models such as VPAN and other community-based programs and interventions. So VPAN continues to see an increase in acute risk for suicide veteran referrals, and that lends itself to increased opportunities to engage in suicide prevention efforts with veterans. And I think this is a really positive trend, especially given this population's limited use of traditional mental health services. VPAN's been allocating staff to meet such programmatic demands, having staffing focusing their efforts on developing and implementing peer-based suicide prevention protocols, as well as using DMH VPAN clinical staff to aid in culturally competent immediate crisis response, as well as provide consultation and education to DMH peer staff. Okay, next, please. Next slide.
I'm sorry, Dr. Wong, we're
Yes.
severely over time. If you can finish up in the next couple of minutes, I know you have a few more slides, and we obviously appreciate our VPAN partners, and I think most of our commissioners are tightly wound, but yeah, I apologize. We only have if you can finish up in a
No
few
worries,
minutes.
no worries.
Thank you.
You know, we will give you folks a copy of the slides so you can read some of the information yourself. But I would like to just touch on VSRT, which is the Veteran Suicide Review Team, and I will do that quickly. And some of you may already know about VSRT. You know that it's a multidisciplinary team of county and community veterans and suicide prevention professionals. And really what VSRT is trying to do is utilize data and information gathered in the review process, and they want to be able to identify themes and patterns so that we could be a lot more proactive. We don't want to wait till a veteran dies by suicide and becomes a statistic, but we want to be able to identify those things that maybe are the red flags, identify like points where we can intervene a lot earlier and make that difference, change the trajectory for that veteran. There's another slide, next slide, about VSRT, what the goals and objectives are. You can read that all on your own, as well as about the VPAN support line, our housing coordinator, and also PATH. I think all of those things you could probably read for yourselves. But I think more importantly, I wanted to just leave a moment at least for any questions you have for the Department of Mental Health or around the VPAN program.
You had mentioned when you began your remarks, just how you started your county career in Skid Row in the late 1980s. And I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'm just so curious, based on your personal experience, you know, reflecting on where you began to where it is now. You know, I think the public at large has a lot of opinions with respect to substance abuse and homelessness, and just from somebody who has been in that fight for so long, you know, is it because the type of drugs are more resistant to traditional forms of intervention and treatment? I'm so curious because you've just seen it, you know, for so long. What makes this point in time different, or is it different?
I think, you know, you bring up a very good point because it's very different, you know, from what it was in the 80s and 90s to where it is today. The types of issues that veterans have been struggling with, as well as other people who are homeless, was different. The kinds of drugs used, even the age. I think at that time, people were a little bit older. You know, we had a lot more, and it was many more men in their 40s, maybe even late 40s to 50s. We saw a lot more Vietnam vets. And one of the main problems was alcoholism. Yeah. And you transition to nowadays, you know, you have a lot more vets who have been combat vets in like Afghanistan, for instance, and the drugs have really changed to meth, to fentanyl. And what that does is it changes the nature of the kinds of treatments that will be effective. Because physiologically, for instance, when somebody uses meth, it actually like chews up the neurotransmitters that have to do with, like, say, depression. So that even if somebody gives them medication, like an antidepressant, which typically creates more neurotransmitter in the synapse, it's all chewed up. So it can't be reuptake into the system. So you have somebody who thinks, okay, I'm on meth, I'm severely depressed, I have PTSD, but I'm stopping the usage, so I should be fine on these medications, and they find it doesn't work, so they go back to the meth.
Yeah.
And we find with occasional meth users, they can have symptoms 6 months beyond stopping, and daily meth users or frequent meth users, it can be up to 2 years that they're symptomatic after stopping.
Thanks for that. I mean, I've read, a lot of reports about just the intensity of the drugs that are available on the street today has made the traditional forms of intervention very difficult, if not impossible, because it affects, like you said, the neuroscience. It's so much different. And I just, I wanted to ask your opinion on that. So thank you.
Thank you for the question. I should also add, though, that I think the issues that a lot of the vets are dealing with are different too, because when we were working with Vietnam vets, a lot of there was significant trauma in the Vietnam experience, no doubt, but a lot of trauma they experienced was the trauma of coming home and not feeling accepted, not feeling respected, not feeling like they had a place anymore. And I think we see now with more vets coming in, you see trauma from the combat experience. You see trauma from economic stressors, not being able to reunite with their household, not being able to afford a home. So it's very interesting that it's kind of a different set of trauma.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. Thank you, Dr. Higgins. Appreciate you guys being here. And as I said, I know most of us are pretty tight with our VPN teams. And if you haven't, make the time to get to know them. They're doing amazing work throughout our county and supporting our veterans. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We look forward to continue working with you. All right, we're going to go to the director. I know we haven't had a full report in a while, so we want to give time to the director to chat.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Kelly and Lisa, for being here today and presenting. Yeah, we do have a lot of slides, but I know we're very short on time. But I know the commission asked several months ago for data around kind of what the department's doing. I will go through these as quick as possible. You guys have access to these. So if we don't have time for questions today, I'd look forward to corresponding with you in between now and the next session on any questions you might have. Next slide, please. So these are claims per location across LA County. You can see really where the volume is and isn't. East LA Vet Center, I will note that that's a new building. And so driving new traffic there, they're getting used to having a new VSO at that location. So spoke to the director of that location recently and asked him to work with me on some co-messaging for that location. And then what this data is helping us do is really, as we're bringing on additional VSOs through the Emergency Hiring Authority, really helping us allocate resources to knock down some of the wait times that are on wait while, or the length of time people are waiting to walk in to see one of our reps. Next slide, please. This is a quick breakdown of type of claims. So there's just two categories of claims. There's audible and non-audible. Non-audible are claims or activities that we do that are not reportable to the state that are compensated, and audible are claims that we report to the state and we get compensated. Next slide. So Justice Involved program, just before I get into the slide, there was a recent motion on November 7th. That was passed unanimously by the board. Several departments, the VA and MVA, have been meeting to address the needs of justice-involved veterans, looking at things of changing the booking slips so veterans are identified right at intersection with law enforcement, as well as intentional partnerships between VA, MVA, and probation. We've also looked at data sharing. We've looked at referrals. We've looked at the need in custody. Sheriff's Department has done a lot of great work around creating pods specifically for veterans. So our VSO and our VJO partners over at the VA have access to veterans versus going across the jails trying to find individual veterans. It's also building a great sense of pride for our veterans in the jail, being housed together, living together, and keeping the workspace clean. We all have our memories when we're in the service of working together to take care of where we are living. They're experiencing that in the jails. Sheriffs are really, and this is a big learning lesson for myself. I did not know this, but veterans drastically underreport their veteran status while in jail. When I'm doing street outreach during COVID in Skid Row, everybody was a veteran. And then in the jails, unfortunately, we have the exact opposite problem. Over 50% of our veterans in jail, the sheriff's estimate, do not identify as veterans. And so the sheriff's department's really stepping up in the veteran space. They brought in like a big screen TV. They also brought in a vending machine to kind of incentivize veterans to want to be with other veterans there and identify as veterans. So that's really important. And a big reason why that's important, not just to help the veteran, but when veterans go into, are incarcerated on that 61st day of incarceration, it's written in the 38 CFR that they lose their service connection disability. So if they're 100%, they go down to 10% for the remainder of the time they're incarcerated. And it's really impactful for their families. For those veterans that get incarcerated, have families, the family goes from having $4,000 a month down to nothing. And so really getting veterans to identify, finding out if they're service connected, and making sure that we're filing what's called an apportionment, which would allow the money to go to the family to support them while the veteran is incarcerated. So that's an example of some of the work that we're doing. I won't go through the slides, but we're seeing that we're increasingly being able to access more veteran inmates because of the reorganization that the Sheriff's Department's doing. Next slide, please. 1807 program. This is the program with DHCS at the state and Calvet and our DPSS program. MCO5s, which is the referral forms, we received 133. We've done 14 outreach events. Out of those 133, we were only unable to reach 5 of those veterans. So the team is really doing well. They're housed out of the El Monte DPSS site. Their 2 staff are dedicated to this program of receiving these referrals, going out to assisted living and skilled nursing facilities, enrolling veterans into healthcare or getting their disability claims processed. The big thing about the 1807 program is we get 1 point for all the other audible claims. For these claims specifically, we get 10 points. So if the state reimburses at a $60 level for a 10-point claim, that's $600. And so that's the reason why the department dedicated and allocated 2 staff specific to this program. Next slide, please. Indigent burial, this is a partnership with the medical examiner office. So they identify veterans who do not have family, and we file the burial claim with the VA and get that money to the medical examiner. And you can see some of the work that we've done on the slide. Next slide, please. Veterans experiencing homelessness. We served 61 homeless veterans last month. It's a list of outreach partners. February 7th, you all were made aware of the board motion and the report back from the department around some of the issues that are keeping unhoused veterans unhoused. And we've done a lot of great work with the VA, our partners at VPAN, and other county departments as part of the One Team effort, which is similar to like some of the Inside Safe and some of the city county work that around homelessness as general population. One Team with the VA is specific to veterans. So all the VA contract staff, VA providers, VPAN, MVA, some county departments like DPSS that are applicable to helping homeless veterans get housed and stay housed more on those calls. Next slide. VPAN program. So our collaboration with VPAN, we received 128 referrals. Our monthly goal is 600. So we have some work to do to get that up to our collective goal of 600. Those 128 referrals turned into 22 claims. So some of the challenges, we don't have staff embedded in the Hawthorne Rally Point due to the site not being inoperable. It doesn't have furniture. So as soon as we have furniture, we'll be embedded there. And then we're just not getting enough referrals from DMH and VPAN and Unitas. Our solution, we continue to work directly with VPAN to up those referrals, much like East Los Angeles Vet Center, look at ways to co-communicate the availability of VSOs in those different sites. So we had a great partnership with SD5, the JVS team up there. They created a flyer, sent it over to us, and really they pushed it out to the community to get more awareness, to get more referrals. So we're working on that. Next slide. Administration, we received additional funding through the supplemental budget phase. We were able to get 6 additional positions, 2 of which came from funding from Department of Mental Health, which we appreciate, to hire 2 more staff to make sure that there's adequate coverage. And some one-time funding for marketing restoration of funds to go to keeping the building open 5 days a week, and some cybersecurity upgrades. And the department also submitted a Measure H funding request on October 31st, and have been in communication with the Homeless Initiative around that proposal. Next slide. Fundraising, I won't go into all the details, but we did apply for our first federal grant in the history of our department several months ago, the Staff Sergeant Fox grant. We continue to look for more opportunities to go after federal and state funding, as well as philanthropic dollars. Next slide, please. Human resources, this is kind of just a breakdown of our new hires by classification. So we brought on some staff recently. Looks like 13 over the last 5 months. Really, the Emergency Homeless Authority has really allowed us to expedite, in several county departments, to expedite the hiring process. So that's really kind of been what's led to us having so much success bringing people on. The big issue is really, once we bring VSOs on, it's a 6-month accreditation process. They got to go through phase 1 and phase 2 of the Calvet Training Academy, which is one of the best, if not the best, training for accredited VSOs. It's just there needs to be 6 months of on-the-job training before our reps are eligible for that second phase, and then the accreditation test. So it's great that we're bringing people on, but they're not, what we say in the military, combat effective until we can get them fully accredited 6 months later. Next slide, please. And these are promotions by classification. We've promoted a lot of very, very worthy staff who have been sticking it out with the department for several years with limited upward mobility into VCA 3s, which is the most independent level of practice for accredited VSO. So we're really happy about that. And really, we're investing in leadership training, which has taken place the last part of this month, to further move them along in their professional development as leaders in the department and the community. Next slide. These are our vacancy rate breakdown by month. Because of the promotions, they've led to additional vacancies. That's why you see the slight uptick in October. And we're actively working to fill those vacancies. Next slide. And there's been a big push to bring volunteers and work studies into the department. And so this is just kind of a breakdown of folks that we've been able to recruit here to help push the mission forward of the department. We also automated a system that will allow volunteers to apply, and will take HR a little bit out of the process so that it's not such a heavy burden on our administrative staff to onboard volunteers in the department. Next slide, please. Building services, the slide is really far away. I can't see it, but basically, I know the numbers off the top of my head. We're the first 4 months of the fiscal year, we were at over 5,000 visitors to the building. We're on track to have over 15,000 for the year. Most of those folks are coming to see our VSOs, around 73%. Around 20% is for events, so the large events that we host at the building. And then the remaining percentage are the remainder of our tenants, folks coming in to see the remainder of our tenants. Next slide, please. And here's volume over the last 3 months. Next slide. Here's our fall event calendar. One thing I want to point out is the Veterans Orientation. That is a partnership with the Department of Mental Health VPN program. The department gets a list of all the service members who signed up in the military whose home of record was LA County. So when they get out of the military, we get the list of all those individuals separating. The only issue with that list is we don't know if they're returning to LA County after their service or if they're staying near their last duty station or moving somewhere else. But with the Department of Mental Health, we call all of them because we get their phone numbers from CalVet and invite them to this orientation. We also send letters through snail mail inviting them out to this orientation. And the orientation is really just making connections. We don't get up there and talk about our services for 5-10 minutes. We just get up there, introduce ourselves, our role, and what we can help them with, and then just mention, I'll be over in the corner. Please come talk to me if you're interested in learning more. It's more about building networks because we all know what the transition assistance program is, getting out of the military. We don't want to recreate that. We know CalVet has the great CalTEP program, which is a 4-hour kind of just fire hose of information. But none of that is really kind of making networks, connection, socialization in the counties that they're returning to. And so that's really kind of what we're doing with that piece. Next slide, please. This is just a communication breakdown of the impact and reach of all our different social media. Next slide. Legislative, this is just a list of state legislation that was signed into law by Governor Newsom by or before October 14th. Some of it is opioid overdose deaths, 1462. That's a particular interest because of the overlap with the Veteran Suicide Review Team. We know that sometimes veterans slowly kill themselves through opioid overdose. Sometimes it's accidental, but sometimes it's intentional. And so looking at opioid overdose and suicide at the same time can lead to additional learning on top of what Lisa was talking about earlier with the Veteran Suicide Review Team. And then we know 531 passed, which creates the bond or creates the proposition, which will be voted on by the voters next year in March. So that's another pretty significant bill that was passed. Next slide. And I'll pass it back to you, sir. Well, actually, a couple other words real quick. So I mentioned the justice involved motion. Really appreciate Supervisor Solis, Supervisor Horvath for authoring that motion. It was 5-0, passed 5-0, like I mentioned. I also want to thank Phoebe and Chair Hahn for a great year. Every year, the county supervisor, the chair, transitions December 5th. And so this will be the last commission meeting with Chair Hahn as the chair. And so want to just really thank Phoebe and Chair Hahn for a great year. The department's done a lot of great work and appreciate them. And we look forward to working with Supervisor Horvath and her staff as the incoming chair for next year. Thanks.
Thanks, Director. Next slide. All right, we'll skip through this. Commissioners, if you have briefings that you want, let's connect with me and Stephanie so we can get on the list. Next slide. So we'll just go through the good of the order. Commissioner Crooks. Go ahead. Director Zenner.
You join me in the front?
Yes, sir.
I know we're running late. I get to wear two hats. Besides being a commissioner here, I'm honored to be also the chair of the California Veterans Board. And as the chair of the California Veterans Board, I get the honor of coming and giving you and the local Department of Veterans Affairs proclamation from the governor on Veterans Day. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, which is really going on. I'm just going to be parts of it. Talks about how Veterans Day was started, and it says in 2005, we will dedicate another 240 bed skilled nursing and memory care facility in Yountville, and continue to implement efforts that benefit all veterans, including those discharged from military service, and that don't ask, don't tell. If they pursue discharge upgrade, we establish eligibility for veterans benefits. And we worked with the legislature to put on the measure on the March 24th ballot, Proposition 1, which includes $1 billion in funding to house veterans with beneficial health needs, behavioral health. That's good. We're also implementing a $50 million California Veterans Health Initiative before the minimum veteran mental health prevention. This is from Governor Newsom. It's kind of signed by Attorney Weber. That is our plan.
This is really, I mean, you guys all get to work with my staff. I just want to say a couple words. Sorry, I know we're late, but you guys all get to work with my staff. You guys get to see how dedicated they are. Yeah, I really accept it on their behalf. Vet DLA, a lot of my staff were here at 05. I wasn't here at 05. They were here at 05. So they earned this. So thank you, Commissioner Crooks. It means a lot. You know, I have a deep appreciation for you and your service in Vietnam War. So thank you. It means a lot.
Anything else, Commissioner Crooks?
No, I don't want to take any longer than I have to.
Commissioner Palmero?
Nothing, sir.
Commissioner Jackson Kelly?
I just wanted to say that I had the honor of attending a special presentation at Carnegie Hall. They did, they honored the Harlem Hellfighters. And it was a very moving event. They did an analogy of the Great Gatsby, and they coordinated the two. So it was very interesting. And I also attended the Mayor's Breakfast in New York it returned to the mansion this year because they've been away for several years. So it was very well attended, and I was very honored to be a guest there. And on March the 17th, I will be inducted into the Army Hall of Fame at the Women's Memorial.
Congratulations. Commissioner Allman?
I do have a Metro update, but I'll get to that next month. It's a letter from the Secretary of the VA to the Metro CEO. I know that's something we've all been tracking here, so we should hear about it. But that's it.
Commissioner Gutierrez?
Yeah, just a quick shout out to the city of Palmdale and the AV Boots on the Ground Alliance. They had a really nice Veterans Day ceremony this last Saturday. It was the first one they've had, but it sounds like it's going to be an annual thing. So really, really well put together. Very nice. So good job for the city of Palmdale. And I'm also looking forward to tomorrow's Thanksgiving dinner here. So Vega and all of our partners are going to be there, I'm sure. If you guys, this thing's been going on for many, many years. There was a little bit of a pause during the pandemic. It's back. It was good last year. I'm sure it's going to be better this year. So I hope to see as many of you there. So thanks.
Thanks. Commissioner Anderson?
Yes, thank you. On December 2nd, a Saturday morning in Palmdale, the Homes for Families Veteran Service nonprofit will be holding its key ceremony for 8 new veteran families to take occupancy in the 53 home veteran enriched neighborhood in Palmdale. They have been as good as their word, opening up about 14 homes a year. And these are for veteran families who otherwise would never qualify for entry into home ownership in the overheated California housing market. So we're happy about that. There'll also be a bench dedication for High Desert Medical Group's Nate Burnett, whose father was a gunnery sergeant during the Korean War.
Thanks, Commissioner Anderson. Vice? All right, I'll also bypass my comments. So next slide. We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Off the record, we would like to congratulate our chair for his newest addition